The Whispering Forest. Deep in the heart of an ancient forest, where sunlight barely pierced through the dense canopy of trees, a group of 5 friends set out for a weekend camping trip. The forest was known to the locals as the Whispering Forest, a name that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who had heard its tales. The friends, however, dismissed the stories as superstitions and were eager for an adventure away from the hustle of city life. The group consisted of Mark, the confident leader, Emily, his cautious girlfriend, Jake, the jokester, Clara, the skeptic, and Sam, the quiet observer. They arrived in the late afternoon, the forest bathed in a golden glow. The trees stretched endlessly, their gnarled branches forming eerie shapes against the fading light. As they ventured deeper into the woods, Emily noticed the strange silence. There were no bird songs or rustling leaves, only the sound of their footsteps on the soft earth. "It feels wrong here," she said, clutching Mark's arm. "Relax, Em," Mark replied. "It's just nature. Nothing to be scared of." Jake laughed. "Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? A bear? Ghosts?" He waved his hands dramatically, and the group chuckled, though unease lingered in the air. They found a clearing near a small stream and set up camp. As night fell, the forest seemed to come alive. The whispering began, soft, indistinct voices that seemed to emanate from the trees themselves. "Did you hear that?" Sam asked, his voice trembling. "It's just the wind," Clara said, though her confidence wavered. The whispers grew louder as the hours passed, their cadence almost conversational, yet no words could be made out. Emily refused to leave the tent, while the others tried to laugh it off, despite their growing fear. Around midnight, Jake decided to explore. "Come on, guys. Let's prove there's nothing out there." "Bad idea," Emily said, her voice firm. "We should stay together." But Jake was already moving, flashlight in hand. Reluctantly, the rest of the group followed, the beam of light cutting through the oppressive darkness. The whispers grew louder as they walked, seeming to surround them. The trees appeared closer, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal hands. Jake suddenly stopped. "Did you see that?" he whispered. "See what?" Clara asked, her voice sharp. "A shadow. It moved." Mark pointed his flashlight toward the trees. For a moment, they saw nothing but bark and leaves. Then, a figure darted between the trunks, pale, humanoid, but impossibly fast. "Run!" Mark shouted. Panic overtook them as they sprinted back toward the camp. The whispers became screams, and the figure seemed to multiply, shadows flitting just out of reach. When they reached the campsite, their tents were slashed to ribbons, belongings scattered. "What the hell is happening?" Clara cried. "We need to leave," Emily said, tears streaming down her face. Mark tried to calm everyone down. "We'll head back to the car. Stay together, no matter what." They grabbed what little they could and began the trek back, but the forest was unrecognizable. The path they'd taken was gone, replaced by dense trees and thick undergrowth. The whispers turned into mocking laughter. Then came the screams. Jake was the first to vanish, dragged into the darkness by unseen hands. The others called his name, but their cries were met with silence. Next was Clara, who stumbled and was swallowed by the shadows. Her scream was cut short, leaving only the echo. "Don't stop!" Mark yelled, dragging Emily and Sam forward. The trees seemed to close in, the forest itself alive and malevolent. Sam tripped and fell, his flashlight rolling away. When he looked up, a pale face with hollow eyes stared back at him. Mark and Emily kept running, their breaths ragged. Finally, they burst into a clearing, the forest eerily silent once more. The car was just ahead. As they reached it, Mark fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking. The engine roared to life, and they sped down the dirt road, the forest receding behind them. For a moment, they thought they were safe. Then Emily gasped, pointing to the rearview mirror. Mark looked and froze. In the back seat sat the pale figure, its hollow eyes fixed on them. The car swerved off the road, crashing into a tree. The last thing Mark heard before everything went black was the sound of whispers, growing louder and louder until they consumed him entirely. The next morning, the car was found, empty and abandoned. The forest reclaimed its secrets, and the locals continued to warn travelers about the whispering forest. Few listened, but those who entered never returned.